Hiya, Kerry here from BBC Sport Wales. Just wondering, confidence must be pretty high coming off the back of the New Zealand win going into this Wales game. How are you feeling?
Obviously, I'm thankful for the way we unhappy with the way we performed in our last game. Obviously, it was a very tough competition, and New Zealand is always a very tough competitor. It's important for us going into the series that we sort of carry some of that momentum into the next game on field. But our focus entirely is going to be on Wales. We take it match by match. It's always tough coming here at the end of the year. Obviously, we haven't beaten Wales here, I think, in the last 6 years. So it's going to be it's a very tough game. Wales currently is the Six Nations champion. I think they've just didn't make it for a Grand Slam by losing in the dying minutes against France. And also looking back into quarterfinals when we played them, it was a grind in the World Cup in order to get a good result. So we've got a lot of respect for our opponents. And our entire focus in this game is just to prepare as the best as we can for this upcoming game.
Afternoon, everyone. Deon, obviously Wales suffered quite a heavy defeat against New Zealand this past weekend. Do you guys read anything into that result, considering it was a bit of an understrength side? Or is that not something you guys really looking at going into this weekend's game?
It's always at this level, each game brings its uniqueness. Playing against New Zealand, one of the two top teams in the world, it's always going to be a very tough game. I think it was a very competitive match. Obviously, Wales, did got a few injuries that might have sort of stopped their momentum going forward into that game. Other than that, a very clinical and a good performance from New Zealand. So, no, I think looking at that game, we know that coming this week, Wales will be up for it. They will be very competitive, and they will make sure that they set things right in terms of the areas that they identified.
Thanks, Zina. Deon and Kwagga. Deon, seeing that Wales were without 20 of the top players out for various reasons, do you think that this week, obviously with those guys coming back, bar one or two, they will present a much tougher proposition this week?
But no, definitely you must understand that there's also some players that have played for the British and Irish Lions that is coming back. You think now of a guy like Rizemet, you think about Falatau, or experienced campaigners. So a lot of depth in the Wales squad, a lot of quality in the backline players, a lot of experience up front, and then also exciting youngsters coming through. So yeah, I foresee that it's going to be a tough encounter.
Hi there, I've got a couple of questions if that's okay. First one for Deon. Rassie's hearing's going on at the moment. Are you expecting him to be available to come to the match on Saturday?
That was always the plan, and yeah, we expect him to be with us.
Well, could I ask that you just ask another question for now, so that we could get to everybody's questions, and if there are opportunities later on, we will cross to you for the rest that you'd like to ask, please.
Okay, can I just ask that one quickly now then?
Yes.
Yes, one for both of you. Alan Wynne-Jones injured himself against New Zealand, and it looks like he's probably going to be out of the game against you. How big a loss is that for him to lose their captain and guy who's so influential over so long? If you could both answer that, would be great. Thank you.
I think for any team, it's a big loss when you lose a captain with so much experience, and just in terms of the quality that he brings as a leader, but also in terms of his individual skill set that is needed for the team. So I think it is a big loss for them. But as I said, in terms of leadership, looking at the Wales team, I think there's some quality guys that can take the team forward. Yeah, but I think overall, losing a captain or a player that have also been influential in the British and Irish Lions, I think it's a big loss.
Yeah, definitely. I also think it's a big loss for Wales. But you never know. It might be something small that they might be able to fix, and he might be ready for the weekend. But if he's not playing, it's definitely a loss for them. But I think there's guys that can step up in his place, and they'll make sure they got a lot of leaders there to fulfill his role and to be ready for the weekend for the game.
Good afternoon, guys. Deon, just I know that a lot of the talk's going to be about Wales and the All Blacks game there, but you guys have been had a 3-week break from and been in Paris for a while. How much have you put on consistency in your guys' performance? Because obviously you'd want to follow it up. Given your history since 2013, you guys haven't gone unbeaten on the European tour. How much has that focus been for you guys in this past week?
I think, as we said before, a very important thing for us is that we know what we want to do and how we want to do it. There was times in the championship that we sort of at times steer away from that. We had in-depth discussions and look at that. We rectified that. And it's just important for us going into this end of year tour, starting with the Wales, is just to keep that momentum, keep that focus, and becoming really good in terms of what we are doing. I think that is what we can control. We respect the history that's been between us and this team, but for now, I think the important controllable thing is executing our plan and the way we do things and how we want to do things. Yeah, Robin, I think we're in a privileged position that we have got quality scrummers like Yankees that I think that is ready to make the step up. We also have an experienced campaigner like Kobus Reiner that is playing very well at this stage. And then we also got a youngster like Grant Williams that is really in this environment to learn, but also at any day and any time, I think we will trust to make that step up going into the game and execute. So we're fortunate in terms of that. And then in terms of the backline, obviously we've got guys like Apelele Fassi in our backline. We've also got a lot of versatile players, guys like Jesse that can play wing and center. We've got Lucanio Arm at times in games that also assisted and bail us out in that specific position. So we're fortunate in that way that we can look at what the opposition offers and in terms of where we are as a team, what we want to achieve and make a selection from that.
A new question for Kwagga. Kwagga, I mean, you guys have been in the bubble almost half the year, and we've got a couple of weeks break at home, and then obviously did quite a bit off the field stuff there in France as well. How has that been for you guys after the intensity of that bio bubble?
Yeah, I think for us it was really good to get back home and to get to our families and experience a bit of off time mentally, also to get away from the game and to refresh for this last 3 games. And then the prep in France was really good because we had 2.5 weeks off just to get back into things, back into training, and there were a few activations, but nothing too hectic. So yeah, it's really nice to be out and to be normal. We're still doing our COVID protocols, wearing our masks and making sure we're safe, but it's nice not to be bubbled in.
Sorry, yeah, I asked too earlier, but I'm happy to go again. Deon, just in terms of the balance of power between the northern and southern hemisphere sides, where do you view that at the moment? Obviously, there was a marquee win for the All Blacks against Wales on Saturday. Do you see the northern hemisphere teams as a long way off where South Africa and New Zealand are at the moment?
It's a very good question. I think the competition between the teams are always on a very high standard. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 things that the one team do better or do differently than the other team. But overall, I think there's if you look at the southern hemisphere teams, there's different strengths and also weaknesses in the way we approach stuff. And if you look at this game also going forward, looking past the score of New Zealand and Wales, I think it was quite a competitive game for 60 minutes. It could have gone anyway in that regard. So no, I won't say that there's a massive difference. I think it's a matter of playing to your strength, to the best of your ability on a specific day, and I think the result can go anyway.
Just the last one. We'll see what happens with Rassie and his hearing this week. But if he does not get any sort of ban, do you think that sends a bad message about what directors of rugby can say about referees?
I would prefer not to comment on it.
Okay.
Carrie, you could ask your question.
Yeah, this one's for Kwagga, please. How much extra spice does the Lions Summer Tour add to these 3 games for you guys?
Yeah, definitely. I think just for us, it's coming out of that. That's a long time ago. I think it's going to be different now. The conditions are different up here. So for us, we know it's going to be a battle every game. So we just try to focus on week by week and game by game and try to implement our game plan. And it's not going to be easy because they will also come out and have a bit of regrets of what happened in the Lions Tour. So they'll come out for us also. But we're excited for good test matches to come.